So Petr Yan versus Jose Aldo has been announced as a fight for the vacant bantamweight world title. That's right, Henry Cejudo is officially retired. He has vacated his belt. There will now be a new champion crowned at a location and an event to be determined. We know nothing about this fight other than the fact that the fight itself is happening for the vacant world title. I have some very strong emotions about this before we get into any kind of prediction of what's going to happen next and who's going to win the fight. I have some very specific emotions. I understand that we are not in the best situation as a company right now in order of making matches, because we have a selected amount of fighters that are willing to fight under the current circumstances. So I understand that there might be some less than preferred matchups being made, but Jose Aldo is ranked number 6 in the bantamweight division, and I don't even know how he's ranked number 6. I really don't. He's magically jumped up to number 6 over the past few days, because I'm very damn sure that he was way lower than that before this fight was announced. Either way, this fight gets announced. Aldo jumps up the rankings. He's now number 6. I understand. Number 6 in the division versus the number 3 in the division for the vacant bantamweight belt to decide who's the best. Since when does that make sense to you guys? I need you to understand this. If I'm making the matches and I'm the matchmaker, I need to be able to sell that match as what it is. This is a fight for the vacant world title, so assumingly the 2 best guys in the division should be fighting for it, correct? How are you going to sell a promo that tells me, or a fan that's watching the show who might not know a lot about the UFC, but they're just going to watch a show, they're trying to understand what's going on, there's a vacant belt on the line, how are you going to explain to them that the number 6 ranked in the world and the number 3 ranked in the world are going to be fighting to determine who will be the number 1 ranked in the world? That makes zero sense to me. Fair enough if it was Marlon Moraes versus Petr Yan, which, by the way, was a fight that was already booked for June 13th at UFC Kazakhstan. Could have easily been rebooked again. Maybe Marlon Moraes is injured. Who knows what's going on with Marlon Moraes right now? We'll get to that at the rest of the video. Jose Aldo should not be getting a title shot. I don't understand where this is coming from. Furthermore, I don't understand the outrage of Jose Aldo versus Marlon Moraes. They've done a retally and a recount of the scoring. It's very, very obvious that Marlon Moraes won that fight. He outstruck Aldo by 1 strike. Let's talk about that first of all and get that out of the way. Aldo versus Moraes was not a fucking robbery. It was a close fight. Get over yourselves, okay? That's exactly how I feel about the situation. There are some close fights, but a lot of people react in different ways to different fights that they see, depending on who they want to win. No one wanted Marlon Moraes to beat Jose Aldo. Everyone wanted Aldo to go down and be successful. They were surprised over how well Aldo did. And I think that sometimes when someone is the underdog and they're coming down and they're trying something that they shouldn't really be successful at, and they look somewhat successful, we can be surprised, and it kind of biases our opinion of a fight. Marlon Moraes landed 1 more strike than Aldo in the first round and took him down at the end of the round. Marlon Moraes wins round 1. Jose Aldo outstruck Marlon Moraes in round 2. Jose Aldo had octagon control in round 3, but was outstruck by 5 strikes from Marlon Moraes. I believe it was 35-30 or 25-20 in favour of Marlon Moraes. That's a pretty close fight, and that's opinion-based judging in that 3rd round. Do you give it to Aldo for the pressure, or do you give it to Marlon Moraes for the extra strikes that he landed in a striking battle, by the way, where he outstruck someone? That's an opinion-based judging round there. I don't see how anyone believes this is a robbery. I don't see, furthermore, as I've said again in this video, how you could then look at that and go, you know what, it was close enough, give him a title shot. It's not like Jose Aldo was on an undefeated run at featherweight and then just decided to change divisions and the decision didn't go his way, but you still want to give him the title shot. He was forced out of 145 pounds for losing so much. He lost to Holloway twice. Then he won against Jeremy Stephens. Then he lost to Alexander Volkanovski after beating Renato Moicano. Lost to Alexander Volkanovski. Now he's coming down into another division and he's lost again. He's on a 2-fight losing streak. I'm asking you again, Sean Shelby or Mick Maynard, whoever is matchmaking this fight, what are you thinking promo-wise? How are you going to sell this? Number 6 versus number 3 to decide number 1 makes 0 sense. I think Yan's going to destroy him. Let's get into the prediction of it. I think Yan's going to absolutely obliterate Aldo. I watched the Aldo versus Moraes fight again, and there were signs in that Moraes fight where I was thinking, you know what? If Aldo was Yan at this point, And I'm seeing Moraes acting like that in the second and third round. Yan is going to annihilate Moraes, leading me to believe that Yan was going to beat Moraes when they originally signed to fight each other at UFC Kazakhstan. I think that Petr Yan is going to beat Jose Aldo. I don't think Jose Aldo is going to like going backwards so much as he will be doing against Petr Yan. I think a lot of people are going to assume that Jose Aldo is going to be the bigger man. Surprisingly, Petr Yan is the taller of the two of them, and he's not a small bantamweight himself, so I think the size difference is going to be a little bit change, and Aldo's not going to be able to bully Petr Yan like he does with Marlon Moraes. We've seen Marlon Moraes bullied before. We've never seen Petr Yan bullied before ever in his career. His one loss came to a guy that he then went on to defeat 2 fights later in his before the UFC career, which is kind of like amateurs, but not really, but it kind of is considered amateurs. But either way, Yan's going to destroy Aldo. Aldo doesn't throw leg kicks anymore. He's very one-minded with his attack. He's a boxing-style fighter. If Marlon Moraes can slam you to the ground in the first round, I think Yan's going to be able to score a few takedowns. Aldo doesn't seem to have the cat-like reflexes to get straight back up off bottom like he used to be able to at 45. Maybe that's an effect from the cut to bantamweight. But either way, we know that Aldo can take a shot at bantamweight. But we also know that Yan can keep giving him for as long as it takes. We've seen Yan go hard for 3 rounds and break guys because of that. Yan had a pretty close fight with Jimmy Rivera. But that fight was decided by Yan needing it more at the end of every round. Yan having more in the gas tank at the end of every round won him the Jimmy Rivera fight. It may well have won him the John Dodson fight as well, which was quite close, but he just keeps on coming. I think giving Yan 5 rounds is a recipe for disaster against anyone who wants to fight him. Giving Petr Yan 5 rounds is almost like asking, hey, I want to lose the fight. Because Yan's going to win in those 4th and 5th rounds, especially against a guy in Jose Aldo who's known for fading as the fight goes on. I think Yan's going to start way faster than Marlon Moraes did, put the pressure on Aldo, make him throw with him, absorb some shots in that first round, and then he's going to start to work the pace. Aldo's not going to finish him in the first 2 rounds. He could do. This is a very competitive fight. I understand that. Aldo went tooth and nail with Marlon Moraes, who's the #1 guy in the division, who has beaten the likes of Aljamain Sterling and other people in the division, like a Sun Sal as well. Great wins from Moraes. Aldo went tooth and nail with him in a very close fight. Aldo's very good, but how do you sell it with that ranking next to his name? My honest opinion is, and listen real close here, because I've done some deducing here when looking at the rankings. I think the UFC is going to pull a real fucking fast one on us, and listen real closely here. I think Yan's going to beat Aldo in the 4th round or 3rd round by TKO, but other than that, Jose Aldo's number 6. You know who's above him? Rafael Assunção and Corey Sandhagen. You know who has upcoming fights really soon on the same card next weekend? Rafael Assunção and Corey Sandhagen. What if Sandhagen loses to Aljamain Sterling? I think Sandhagen's going to beat Aljamain Sterling, but what if Aljamain Sterling beats Corey Sandhagen? Sandhagen's going to move down them rankings. What if Assunção loses to Garbrandt? I think that Assunção's going to beat he's going to beat Garbrandt, but you know, it could happen. Garbrandt could beat Assunção. Assunção's going to move down them rankings. Aldo could sneak into number 4 if a few fights go his way here. You know? I think that's what the UFC's hoping for by making this matchup, and I think that's why they haven't really decided the location or anything yet, because they don't want to set it in stone, so that it might give them time to reschedule and move some things around to try and make this more marketable. But if Assunção and Sandhagen both lose, and by the way, they're both the underdogs, I believe. Assunção might be the favourite, but I think Sandhagen is an underdog. Either way, Assunção could very well lose to Cody Garbrandt. I'm willing to accept that. Aldo could slide above both of them to number 4, and then all of a sudden it's 3 versus 4, and hey, there's no fucking problem, dude, it's 3 versus 4. Even 3 versus 4 stinks like shit to me. But I get it. On the bright side of the whole situation, let's try and take some fucking positives from this while we still can, because I swear to God, first Cynthia Calvillo versus Jessica Ayers, the main event, and now we've got this. I like the fight. I like that Yan's been given an opportunity. Yan should have been given the opportunity against Aljamain Sterling or Marlon Moraes. If Moraes is injured, I understand, but I also understand why they maybe wouldn't want to put it against Moraes, because Moraes is a guy who lost to Henry Cejudo. It's not often a good look to try and have a guy fight for a belt that's been released by the champion who already beat him. Cejudo beat Marlon Moraes and beat him down quite convincingly with an injury as well to his ankle. It's not really good if Marlon Moraes then goes on to get the belt immediately afterwards, showing that he's still in the shadow of Henry Cejudo. I kind of get it, but Aldo should not be getting a title shot, man. The fight with Marlon Moraes was a close fight, but guess what? You lost. People lose close fights. It's still a loss. I don't know why in this exact scenario we're making so many fucking excuses for Jose Aldo and just saying, yeah, he lost 2 in a row, but they were close. Yeah, but he lost 2 in a row. He shouldn't be getting a title shot. It's pretty fucking simple. Either way. Now hear me out. In the long run, and I'm trying to take a positive from this shit show again, because that's what I'm going to try and do from now on. Rather than just shitting all over the entire thing, I'm trying to take a positive from this. Yan's probably going to beat Aldo and become champion. Okay? Which is good. Marlon Moraes fighting for the belt, there are some bad sides. I think there are more upsides than bad sides because he is number 1 in the division and he's coming off a win to Jose Aldo, and Jose Aldo was supposed to be fighting Henry Cejudo anyway, so that kind of shows that, hey, the guy who beat Aldo, who was supposed to be the next opponent, he's bounced back after his loss, he wants another try, but I understand why they wouldn't want to give it to him. In the long run, this might work out for the division, because I know a lot of people wanted to see Yan versus Sterling now. That fight can be way bigger. Okay? And giving Yan this massive name in Jose Aldo after Uriah Faber. Uriah Faber isn't a title. That's another weird thing about Petr Yan. I know he beat Jimmy Rivera and John Dodson when they were quite higher ranked than they currently are in the division. I think Jimmy Rivera was like number 4 or 5. John Dodson was number 7 or some shit like that. So he has got some good wins in the division. But beating Uriah Faber is not a title elimination bout. But now they've given him Aldo. These are big names that Yan can take a lot of clout off of and carry with the belt. If Yan beats Aldo, great success is wonderful. Wonderful news. I'm looking forward to it. It also gives time for the rest of the division to breathe. And here's what you do with the rest of the division. I've tried to figure this out and how we can make the best out of a bad situation here. Aljamain Sterling versus Corey Sandhagen should be the co-main event of UFC 250. I don't know why it's not. They've given it to Assunção versus Garbrandt, who are just lower ranked than Sterling versus Sandhagen, which I don't understand. But even still, Sterling versus Sandhagen, the winner of that one is going to be more well known than they are now. That's a fact. That happens after people win fights, especially on the main card of pay-per-views. As unstacked as UFC 250 is, at least these guys are getting a chance on the main card of pay-per-views because Aljamain Sterling has been held to the prelims every single pay-per-view there's been. The winner of Sterling versus Sandhagen should fight the winner of Yan versus Aldo for the belt. Aldo gets it, he's probably going to retire, but if Yan gets it, the winner of Sterling Sandhagen should take him on next. Marlon Moraes should take on the winner of Assunção versus Cody Garbrandt. If we get Cody Garbrandt versus Marlon Moraes, title fight on the line. If we get Marlon Moraes versus Rafael Assunção free to settle the score, 1-1, one win each, I don't mind that one either. I'm sure Marlon Moraes would like to have that trilogy and just get that off of his plate and show that he's the better fighter there. Same with Assunção. The winner of Assunção Garbrandt fights Marlon Moraes. Sterling Sandhagen winner fights Yan. Fingers crossed Yan gets this one done. I think he is going to get it done. I don't see a way Aldo wins. Yan's boxing's a little bit too clean. He's going to make Aldo go backwards, which Aldo doesn't like doing. Also, Aldo, something I noticed in the Marlon Moraes fight is that he's looking to counter a lot. Every time Aldo, you see it in Aldo's fights, he moves forward like this. Like always slipping his head backwards a little bit. I think he was expecting to counter Marlon Moraes a lot more than the speed of Marlon allowed him to. That's a problem with it when you've got Petr Yan, because Petr Yan doesn't just throw single shots like Marlon Moraes. For a counter-striker, the worst person to fight is someone who throws combinations. Look at Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor. Those 1-2s threw him off. As soon as you find someone who's a counter-striker and they go up against a guy who throws a lot of volume, we saw this in Aldo versus Holloway, it's kind of their kryptonite because they slip the first punch and they walk right into the second or the third. Then the kick comes at the end of it. Combinations beat counter-strikers. That's kind of what I'm defining the Yan versus Aldo fight on. I'm also kind of looking at the fact that Jose Aldo is now 6 months older. Whilst cutting to bantamweight one more time, every time he makes that cut, it's going to be worse for him, in my opinion. He's just getting older and older every single time. He's only throwing less and less leg kicks as his career goes on, and showing less and less diversity and ability to take belts. I don't think Yan's going to lose to him. I think Yan's going to absolutely annihilate him. Not to mention, Yan's had a full training camp for this. I know Aldo has had one as well, so this shouldn't be seen as a short notice situation. I favour the younger guy getting his full training camp in for UFC Kazakhstan. He's just flown over to Thailand to get some last minute preparation done. It's just a bit of a weird one. I think Yan's going to destroy him. I really do. And then you could do Pedro Munoz versus Frankie Edgar. The winner of that one could maybe take on... I don't fucking know, really. The winner of Rob Font versus John Dodson. Like, it's just a weird situation. This title fight being booked has kind of fucked over the whole division. I wish it was Marlon Moraes versus Petr Yan. That would make a little bit more sense. But I get why they haven't done. I'm going to have to put my emotions to one side because it's happened now. At least we can try and guess what event they're going to do it for. I think they're just waiting until they see what happens at UFC 250, because then they could justify moving Aldo up the rankings to number 4. Or, let's say Sterling loses to Sandhagen, which I think that he will do. Yan's going to slide up to number 2. Aldo might slide up to number 5. That's a little bit of a better situation. That's why they haven't announced the arena yet or the dates. I feel like this is going to be one of those Fight Island ones. However, I also know that on June 13th, we don't have a headliner of the fight night yet. And that's a pretty big deal, because we do have one for Cynthia I, sorry, I forget their fucking names. Jessica I versus Cynthia Calvillo is headlining one of the fight nights, which shows us we are in high demand of main events for fight nights. And if this one doesn't want to be on a pay-per-view, I get it. Put it as a headliner of a fight night. It'll probably get more views anyway, because trust me, UFC 250 is going to get less views than probably Woodley versus Burns, in all honesty. But either way, I'm looking forward to it. We already have a headliner for June 13th. We need one for June 20th. The co-main event is Josh Emmett versus Shane Burgos. Petr Yan versus Jose Aldo is a damn good main event. As much as I don't like the matchmaking, it's a great main event with great names, and it would be a great addition to that card. June 20th, which I believe is the first card, and I predicted this a long time ago. It's the first card for Fight Island, and I think that's kind of proven by the fact that we have some foreign fighters on this card. Marc-Andre Barriault, Oscar Piacota, you know? Tisha Torres, Brianna Van Buren as well. Tisha Torres is not one of them, but Brianna Van Buren. Mariam Renault. I think this is the first Fight Island card. I think that the great main event would be Yan versus Aldo, but if they want to do it on the July 18th UFC 251 card, which they could do that one as well. But it's just weird matchmaking. Yan's going to beat him. I've done 17 fucking minutes. Are you kidding me? Jesus. Like and subscribe. I'm sorry. I actually didn't realise I was rambling. Goodbye.